Hello everyone and welcome back to another random video on the internet. And today we are going to be talking about a pretty interesting topic. You saw the title, you saw the thumbnail, you know what we're talking about. How strong is Sakura in the war arc in Naruto Shippuden? Well, I'm here to talk about that and say why she's way stronger than you could have ever imagined. And right off the bat, I want to say that I think that this is stupid. Sakura should not be this strong. I'm going to explain how strong she is in the video, but logically she should not be this strong, but I will talk about it. It's shown in the manga, and it's blatantly even stated in some parts of the manga as well. I'll get to that later, but what I'm trying to get at is don't blame me. Blame the manga. Don't kill the messenger. So, first of all, let's address one thing really quickly. A lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, like I'd say maybe 80% of the Naruto fan base thinks that Sakura is only like Tsunade level at most in the war. Well, for that, I would just like you to take a look at this panel right here. You see these little ants? These tiny little dots on the screen. These are Jubi clones, the mini Jubi clones. And one such clone should be like this tiny dot on the screen. The bigger ones are like this, right? Yeah. This one right here, this little tiny dot, is twice as tall as Sakura. I measured it, actually more than twice as tall. And these ones are like a lot taller, like 4 times as tall probably. And I actually did some measurements on this. And as a scale for you, I referenced Gamabunta's height and size in relation to Naruto's, and I found that lowballing and saying that this is the Jubi clone that is twice as tall as Sakura and not these tiny little dots, maybe they're just debris or whatever. Lowballing and saying that this is twice as the size of Sakura gives us a size reference. So lowballing the size of this explosion. You know how big Gamabunta is compared to it? This big. Yeah, this big. This is Gamabunta compared to the explosion. I don't know what to say to you, man. Tsunade's greatest feat is like knocking down a Susanoo-clad Madara Wood clone, which is like less than the size of Gamabunta, and seems like Sakura would be turning that clone into mush if she hit it. Just from this panel alone, like the size of the explosion, the shockwave from her basic punch connecting to the ground is like 5 times the size of Gamabunta. So yeah, that's just a fun little reference for you. And this isn't even getting into the crazy scaling. Like, the crazy scaling for Sakura, like, the edgy scaling is just, brutal. Kishimoto, he wanted to make a cool scene with Sakura, and like he wanted to make her involved in the battle with Kaguya, and in doing so, he kinda showed me and the world why you should not compromise the integrity of the plot just to get a cool little moment. So imagine like the Akatsuki standing in front of Sakura. Before Itachi can land any genjutsu, or before Pain can activate the Chibaku Tensei, or before anyone can really do anything, Sakura punches the ground and literally sends them all into fucking space. Well, like, logically, that is what would happen. Just this one panel, and she's already like one-shotting the Akatsuki. Now, I'm not saying that this Sakura just definitively beats Itachi or Pain in any like situation at all. Like, if Itachi lands a genjutsu, or if Pain can like touch Sakura and just suck her soul out, or he activates the Chibaku Tensei, it's GG. But if she punches them, they die. Period. And so yeah, that's just one thing. But the other big thing, which just propels Sakura into a whole other tier of power, is the Kaguya fight. And there are multiple instances in that fight that point to Sakura not only being like at the level of KCM2 Naruto, but actually almost comparable to Sage of Six Paths Naruto. So before you dislike the video, let's just get to talking about this. So she punches Kaguya and actually damages her, breaks her horn. Sakura's chakra goes through Kaguya's skull and bruises her cheek and pushes her back. Kaguya Otsutsuki. I'm pretty sure that I don't need to give you all a lecture on how powerful she is, but many people bring up many different arguments for why this doesn't matter and this doesn't propel Sakura into any other tier of power. So first of all, people say that Sakura was in the blind spot of the Byakugan, and that's just Kaguya couldn't see Sakura coming. First of all, Sakura literally yells behind Kaguya when she's like a meter away, so that just falls straight out the window. But also, like, there are 360 degrees in a circle, right? And the Byakugan blind spot is 1 degree. How is an entire whole ass person fitting inside of that tiny little opening in her defenses? How? Like, Sakura is not like an insect. She's not the size of an insect. Or like, and also, the Byakugan blind spot isn't widely known either. Like, Kiromaru had to like figure it out through battling Neji, and he like had to work it out. Like, he had to figure that the blind spot even existed. And Sakura probably shouldn't know about the blind spot. But even if she does, to say that she was able to position herself into the blind spot while she was just falling from Kakashi Susano and unable to adjust herself at all because she's falling and she can't fly or maneuver herself in the air. So that's one thing. Another thing is that even if she didn't like want it to happen, even if it was unintentional, how? Like, she'd have to be so lucky to just fall into the spot, And again, she yells behind Kaguya, and the blind spot is tiny. Sakura should not fit in that at all. Another counter argument that I see is that Kaguya just didn't care about Sakura. So what brought this whole debate up was a common debate. I debated like a bunch of people on how strong Sakura is. And here are some of the quotes from those people. In Kaguya fight, you realize Naruto and Sasuke were fighting with Kaguya for so damn long, and Kaguya was legit exhausted if you notice, and Kaguya probably noticed her trying to attack her, but she was busy, some mark that I don't recognize, trying not to get sealed away by the seal. End of quotation. Another one is, quote, second, Sakura managed to punch Kaguya because Kaguya literally ignored Sakura's presence the whole time. She was too focused to avoid Moon and Sun Seal. That's why Sakura said we're both women, don't make fun of me. She probably thought her punch wouldn't be enough to stop her. She literally underestimated Sakura. End quote. And now, this seems like it would be a valid argument, right? Like, Kaguya ignored Sakura's presence before, so why shouldn't she worry about her now? Well, first of all, Kakashi, who Kaguya was thought would be completely insignificant in that fight, had just gotten an insane power boost. Obito, who she thought would be completely insignificant in the fight, was extremely important because he opened up the portals for Sasuke to get back into the main dimension where the battle was taking place. So, two people who Kaguya thought were completely insignificant were significant actually, surprised her by being significant. So it would be pretty safe to assume and pretty stupid to not assume that something similar might happen with Sakura as well. But Kaguya is stupid. Kaguya is retarded. Let's not. She's too dumb to figure that out. Another thing is that it literally doesn't matter. We already established that Kaguya saw and heard Sakura coming. So she has the Byakugan, right? The jutsu that literally allows you to see chakra and how much chakra somebody has. And she sees Sakura. So she should, in theory, see how much chakra is in Sakura's punch. And she should be aware of how much damage that would do to her. But even if we say that she isn't, she's too focused on Naruto and Sasuke, and maybe the Byakugan doesn't see chakra behind you somehow, even though it does. But let's just say that it doesn't. So what then? Kaguya was completely off guard, right? Didn't care about Sakura. Now I'm about to drop some power scaling. So when Kaguya appears, Naruto and Sasuke both say that she is in a whole other league compared to the Ten Tails and Madara. Madara at that point had 2 Rinnegan, a Rinne Sharingan, the Jubi, Sage Mode, and the God Tree absorbed. God Trees grow from Jubi, and Obito grew that specific God Tree, meaning that the God Tree might have as much raw chakra as the Ten Tails that Obito had. This is kind of headcanon, but it is kind of supported by the manga and the anime, since the Ten Tails is literally what grows the God Tree, and in the anime filler we also see a God Tree turn into the Ten Tails in the Kaguya backstory arc. So, it wouldn't be too unreasonable to assume that the God Tree might be a Jubi level increase. It might not be, I'm not saying it is. It might very well not be. It might very well not be. But it could be, and there is actual evidence for that, and we don't have any other way to scale how much of an increase the God Tree gave Madara, so we'll just go with that. So, You know 8th Gate's guy, right? Like the big Chad that people hype up so much. Madara fights 8th Gate guy, is clearly toying around with him, lets him land his most powerful attack, doesn't even defend himself or put up a shield or anything, just lets it happen while having a monologue about how Guy is like the greatest taijutsu fighter that Madara has ever faced, right? So he lets him land his most powerful attack without defending himself and survives and laughs afterwards. Then Naruto shows up, punches this dude before even going into his Sage of Six Paths mode. He punches Madara. Madara blocks the punch, and he's legit like scared about how strong Naruto is. Like, what? He touched the truth-seeking orb without like dissolving. How strong is he now? He kicked away the truth-seeking orb. He did all this crazy stuff. He's like damaging me. How strong is this guy now? What happened to him? Like, and stuff like that, right? So Naruto one-shots this dude with the Rasen Shuriken later on as well. Madara is literally speechless and just laying there in a crater, just regretting every decision that led him to this point in his entire life. And Naruto scares Madara to the point where he absorbs the God Tree and gets a possibly Jubi level power-up, gets an extra Rinnegan, a Rinne Sharingan, and Kaguya is in a whole other league. Also, Naruto's Shadow clones are able to keep up with Madara's Limbo clones 1v1, and even seal them so they can't move. The Limbo clones are stated to be just as powerful as Madara himself. Madara's real body was kind of toying around the entire time, but the Limbo clones were not, since they were trying to buy as much time as possible for Madara to activate the Infinite Tsukuyomi. So, one Limbo clone equals one Shadow clone. Kaguya slaps 2,000 clones with high difficulty. Then, at the end of the fight, Zetsu states that Kaguya has been absorbing chakra this entire time, and that she now vastly overwhelms Naruto and Sasuke, who were giving her trouble before. I've even seen translations where he says that Kaguya is exponentially stronger than before, or dozens of times stronger than before. It doesn't really matter for this video. Just know that she is, like, way stronger now than she was when she first showed up. So Kaguya is a being that surpasses Jubidara numerous times over, and then gets amped to an absurd degree, and Sakura still injures her. Even if Kaguya isn't worrying about Sakura, she's still flying full speed out of the clutches of Naruto and Sasuke, yet Sakura is able to push her back, break her horn, and her chakra literally goes through Kaguya's skull and bruises her cheek. Even if Kaguya wasn't necessarily defending herself against the attack, she was still amping her entire body and going straight at Sakura numerous times faster than the speed of light, using all her chakra and effort to escape from being sealed, and Sakura stopped all of her momentum, injured her, and pushed her back. Yeah, I just said that. I just said that. Literally shown in the manga. The only thing that is kind of headcanon-y from everything that I just said is that the God Tree is a Jubi-like increase. That's it. Everything else is directly from the manga. And then another argument against Sakura's speed is that she just fell off Kakashi's perfect Susanoo. It's not like it was her plan to be there or because super speed or whatever, and she didn't blitz Kaguya. That's true. I'm not claiming that Sakura is like as fast as 8th Gate's guy or any of these Sage of Six Paths characters, but she does punch as hard as them. And if anything, The fact that she was falling at gravitational speeds, not even being able to jump off of anything and increase her momentum and still stopped Kaguya, just makes her raw power that much more impressive. And now, you might be saying that this is an outlier. Sakura just doesn't, she never shows this level of power ever in the manga, except this one moment, and maybe this is just an outlier. But then I would like to direct you to this statement by Obito. He states that one of Naruto's Sage of Six Paths clones has less chakra than Sakura. He has both the Sharingan and the Rinnegan and can clearly see how much chakra someone has, so he should be knowledgeable on this. At the time he states this, Naruto only has one single clone on the battlefield. It's definitely debatable how shadow clones work, but the most common interpretation is that the raw chakra amount of the user is split evenly between the clone and the real body. So, this shadow clone has half the chakra of Sage of Six Paths Naruto. And even if we don't take this interpretation into account and use some other one, a shadow clone of Sage of Six Paths Naruto is still gonna have crazy amounts of chakra. And now you might be saying that this is like cap, or it's just not a way to scale him, Sakura, at all. You might not agree with the first interpretation, but I'm gonna prove right now that this first interpretation, that Sakura has more than half the chakra of Sage of Six Paths Naruto, is likely the interpretation that is the most correct. So, Kaguya eventually starts running low on chakra in that fight before she gets rejuvenated by the expansive truth-seeking orb, because she's spamming her space-time ninjutsu too much. So, since Kaguya is running low on chakra, I'd say that she has maybe like 30 to 40% of her full chakra pool left at most. Up to this point, Kaguya had used her teleportation jutsu 9 times. Lowballing, one teleportation takes away about 7% of her chakra, and highballing it takes away about 8% of her chakra. Sakura gives Obito enough chakra to create 3 of these portals. So Sakura, with her full 100 healings activated, has 21 to 24% of the amount of chakra that Kaguya Otsutsuki has. Let that sink in. Sakura, 24% of the amount of chakra that Kaguya has. Sounds ridiculous, but it is supported by everything else in the Kaguya fight. And also, this brings up another thing. When Sakura punched Kaguya, she had used up all her 100 healings chakra to help Obito open up all those portals. So literally, Sakura pushed Kaguya back and injured her when she wasn't amped by her strongest jutsu. So that's freaking nice. That's just great. Kishimoto, you are such a competent writer. So either way, Sakura has insane chakra reserves, possibly somewhat relative to Sage of Six Paths, Naruto, and Kaguya, and that's just another piece of evidence why Sakura is God tier. And then another really stupid argument against Sakura being God tier. Here is another quote from the comments that I had to debunk, basically. Quote, "Your argument about Sakura could be as 8th Gate's Might Guy in raw power is absolute dumb. Have you seen Sakura bend the space by just moving?" End quote. Question. Did Kaguya ever bend space by moving? Did Naruto? No? Are they weaker or slower than 8th Gate Guy? No. At this point, Bending space while moving might just be so common and unimpressive to these people that if it's even happening, they just don't mention it. And Kishimoto just didn't want to illustrate the warping effect in every manga panel, probably. Another thing is that it could just be an inconsistency. Who wouldn't be the first inconsistency in Naruto? And also, another question. This is kind of a different case because different authors display character strength differently. But do we ever see Goku bend space while moving in Dragon Ball Z? No? Is Goku weaker than 8th grade Guy? I really hope that I don't have to address 8th grade Guy versus Super Saiyan 3 Goku. But yeah, we also never see Goku blow up a star. But we know that he scales way above star level because he's stronger than Cell, who can blow up a solar system. Using this same logic, we have never seen Naruto bend space, but we absolutely know that he can because he scales way above 8th grade Guy. Another thing that I could see you bringing up is that Sakura tried to punch Madara, but his limbo blocked the punch. Again, inconsistent writing by Kishimoto. And it doesn't only affect Sakura but Naruto as well. Naruto struggles to break through Madara's defenses, but then can somehow break through Kaguya's defenses, who, as I already established, is in a whole other league compared to Madara. And the characters in this part of the story just seemingly get stronger for no reason. And it's my personal headcanon that it's probably because Kishimoto realized that he wrote himself into a corner with how strong he made Kaguya, so he had to buff the main cast to fight him. That's how bullshit like Kakashi's Susanoo and Sakura's and Naruto's power-ups happened. So, overall, I definitely think that Kaguya being this powerful is stupid. I think I already expressed that in the video pretty clearly. It's definitely an example of bad writing, but it is consistent within the Kaguya fight for Sakura to be God tier. Do I think she should be this strong? Absolutely not. But that is not the question. The question isn't, do I think Sakura is this strong? The question is Sakura this strong? And, well, you already watched this entire video, so I'll just let you decide on that.